Did you know that Hamilton was a beast at remote control racing? And now, Hamilton is one of the best Formula One racers the world has witnessed. But the 7-time champ came home in 6th place in Florida despite starting down in P13 after a difficult qualifying session. What made him be in that position? Was it because of the car he drove, or is it because of him? Was the car not so qualified to compete against those massive foes? Will Mercedes sort out a way to come back? Let's find out. After a breakthrough enactment for the W14 in Melbourne, the last 2 races have been more difficult for Mercedes, with Red Bull's domination obvious to witness. But the Silver Arrows have those much-discussed advancements coming for the following race in Imola, something Hamilton couldn't conceal his excitement for. Mercedes had expected to present their upgraded Formula One car at Imola this weekend, but the revocation of that race indicates Lewis Hamilton and George Russell must pause until Monaco next week. The package has been keenly awaited as proof the one-time champs are back on track to forthcoming victory, but Monaco's unique attributes could make that challenging to assess until Spain the weekend after. After the Azerbaijan race last month, Lewis Hamilton expressed he was counting down the days until he could race in an exalted car. He has been made to linger a little prolonged due to the revocation of this weekend's race in Italy. Deadly floods in the province have put some townlets near the circuit underwater and caused some roads to be impassable, placing emergency services under immense pressure. The race was called off on Wednesday before vital teams were permitted back into the paddock to move gear and get it on the roadway to Monaco. After all, the following race will take place in the Principality next weekend. That signifies the Mercedes upgrades will also be driving the voyage. We understand the new bodywork, floor, and front suspension pledged by crew lead Toto Wolff was already in class and will only be used in Monaco rather than Imola as planned. And there are no worries over everything being set up in stint for that race. Flooded streets near the Imola track will, no suspicion, offer some logistical challenges, but F1 managers are sure that there will be no waits until the start of the Monaco Grand Prix weekend. Hamilton and his fellow F1 motorists unanimously endorsed the decision to call off this weekend's race. The Silver Arrows acknowledged as earlier as the start of March at the season-opening Bahrain Grand Prix that they had caused an error by clinging to their design idea from the last year. There had been expecting that untapped possibility stayed in the eye-catching zero side pod look foremost seen on their earlier W13 model, but it quickly evolved clear the new car would be unfit to contest Red Bull, who in 2022 undoubtedly concluded Mercedes' 8-year streak of Constructors' Championships and have beaten all 5 races to start the new crusade. The upgrade will thus be oriented in Monaco rather than being forced back to the subsequent weekend's Spanish Grand Prix at the more classic Barcelona circuit. It is accepted that a new side pod design will be the most perceptible change, honoring a departure from the crew's contemptible zeroed concept alongside a new floor and front suspension. Given the treacherous nature of Monte Carlo's famous barrier-lined streets, Mercedes' conclusion not to postpone their upgrade is fierce, especially in the F1 cost cap era. The unusual challenge posed by the legendary Monaco circuit would usually discourage crews from fetching major updates at the crapshoot of them being potentially registered off. Mercedes must have a ton of spares in the account, or are putting their full confidence in Lewis Hamilton and George Russell to bypass barriers that have caught out some of F1's most promising motorists over the years. It is coherent, though, given that Mercedes requires as much track time as feasible to gather data and comprehend how their revised W14 works, even if Monaco is not the optimum platform. Assuming all the risks associated with a Monaco deployment, another lost weekend of evaluation seems not an alternative for Mercedes. After all, the once dominant Silver Arrows are tacking their expectancies on the highly anticipated advancement, allowing them to lower Red Bull's benefit as a foremost step on a potentially long road to returning to the front of the grid. Trackside engineering director Andrew Shovlin lately illustrated that they wish to fetch other updates thereon in the year. They expect it to be quicker. They desire it to be better concerning qualifying and race pace. They are skimming to head off in a different development direction, which they consider gives them a better opportunity in the long term to appune for race successes and world titles. Whether Mercedes get the solutions they are looking for in Monaco or has to linger until Barcelona for a more precise image stays to be seen. There have already been repercussions in Mercedes' senior supervision crew, with James Allison returning as technical director instead of Mike Elliott, who was forced into the more general head technical officer role. With the waiting nearly through, we have collated the most unique statements from the Brackley outfit to respond to the essential queries. Given Mercedes acknowledged they were required to make primary shifts at the foremost race of the season, some may wonder why it has abode them 2.5 months to have them prepared. Andrew Shovlin, Mercedes trackside engineering director, remarked last week, clarified that if they go all the way back to the trial and race in Bahrain, that was where they discovered that they didn't have a kit that was going to help them to battle for a world crown. If Mercedes persisted on that same development direction, Mercedes wouldn't finish up in a place where they felt they could contest Red Bull. Around that time, they made some determinations on how they designed the car, how the car works aerodynamically, and how they shape the traits car's characteristics. In substance, how it is in terms of driving for the motorists to drive. What they will be fetching to the track is the foremost step of that work. This takes quite a long time to evolve in the wind tunnel, and you can't simply do these fortes overnight. When Mercedes revealed their 2022 W13 prototype in Bahrain last year, the car's dearth of side pods shocked the paddock. Given the crew's extraordinary bar of tags and prominence for eminence, most presumed it was another instant of brainiac that would assure more victory. While the side pods are not the foremost rationale, Mercedes has not gained the desired level. They are critical and seem set for a revolutionary change. As earlier as the Bahrain GP, technical director Elliott voiced new planned side pods. It won't be identical to other people's, and it won't be the exact as they have got. It'll be distinct. Mercedes has got a very diverse side pod coming, so yes, they can be sure the side pods will look unlike, but a bunch of puzzles stays around what form they will accept. Articulating at the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix in March, Hamilton apparently commented that switching the side pods alone wouldn't crack Mercedes' problems. People keep talking about fetching the new side pods on the car, but it's not as easy as that, the Brit expressed. You set the Red Bull side pods on their car. It won't revise a thing. It might even go slower. It's about aero facets. It's how the car is poised through the corners. There are so many different factors that people would not know because they're not aerodynamicists. Aside from the side pods, Mercedes had essentially been hesitant to share many details about what would be altering. But Wolff gave his considerably detailed explanation at the Miami Grand Prix earlier in May. What they are doing is they are presenting a new bodywork, and they're familiarizing a new floor, and they are also adding a new front suspension, he counted. That's a pretty extensive process, a big surgery, so there will be a lot of wisdom. In prevalent fashion, Red Bull has succeeded all 5 races this season, with Max Verstappen completing the motorists' standings as he pursues a 3rd consecutive championship. Given the incredible pace of the RB19, it's challenging to see anyone nearing the 122-point lead Red Bull has already flared up in the constructors' standings, but just contending with them for wins would certainly be a success. Asked in Miami what he wishes from the upgrades, Wolff stated that the car is beginning a good lap time in the virtual world, but has frequently cautioned that unexpectedly contesting Red Bull is positively doubtful. They need to manage their own anticipations, Wolff stated, because they are fetching an updated package. But he has never in his 15 years in Formula One seen a silver bullet being presented unexpectedly. While Wolff is inclined to manage anticipations, Hamilton's acknowledgement that he's been counting the days until the upgrades propose inner confidence in substantial advancement. Despite those efforts, Wolff established that Mercedes had sufficient funds to persist on the path they would soon display. So what are your thoughts? Will this upgrade help the Silver Arrows and Hamilton to achieve another championship? Will they be able to contest against the never-settling Red Bull crew? Comment down what you desire to see in the upcoming new model. Until then, adios.